most of the time they're going to be Catholic. You know, that's what you'll find is they're mostly Catholic, but they're the type of Catholic they go to church Christmas and Easter. But you also find a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses and evangelicals that are, those are getting pretty strong here. Never turn the light off on a Hispanic before they've left the room. That's considered rude. I found that out the hard way. Luckily, it was with another missionary, so he forgave me, but we were both leaving the room when I was ahead of him, and I just had a habit, flipped the light off, and he got mad at me. And I was like, "Whoa, I didn't know, Elder." And he was like, "Okay, it's fine." But, the best way you're going to learn how to speak Spanish is you have to do first you have to speak it all the time, and you have to do your language study every day. Because unlike in Spanish-speaking countries, you go to the store, you go to a restaurant, the people behind the counter speak English. And so if you don't use your language, you're not going to improve in your language. And so, I had several companions where all we did was we just spoke Spanish to get together. And that's all we did. We wouldn't speak English. And, so that's the only way you're going to learn it is if you're using it all the time. Particularly here in Provo, there's a decent number of Hispanic people, based upon the number of wards that there are, but just English is everywhere. You go to church, you can find wards in English. You can go to the stores in English. You can the temple. If you go to the temple, they're gonna give it to you in English. And I'm that language study, that hour that they give you is critical. Because you can't just pick up on little phrases as you go. You have to actually go in and learn the grammar, so that way you can speak properly. And that was something that I found is that as I learned to speak properly, a lot of them would respect me more. They'd be like, "That's really, that was really good that you were able to speak that." And they would, actually listen to me a lot more because they knew that I was actually taking the effort and the time to speak their language, which is something that they really appreciate. A lot of the Hispanics that are here are they're fleeing their countries. They're, can't count how many stories I heard of people being like, "We left because such and such thing was going on in our country and we didn't like it." And so a lot of these people are going through hard times, and a lot of them are come from separated homes where they have family members back in the country and then they're here by themselves, and so they're feeling kind of lonely. And so a lot of them will first open up to you because they want some company, someone that speaks their language. And then if you can show them, "Hey, there's a community of people here that speak your language too," then that makes them happy. Another big challenge, another interesting cultural tidbit is that along with that broken families is sometimes a lot of Hispanic men come up here and they leave a wife behind, but they but because divorce costs so much in these other countries, it might have been someone that they were separated from for a long time, just didn't get divorced to. They come up, they find another woman up here, and they just start living together. And finding someone who, if you find someone and they want to get baptized, but they have this wife down in Mexico still, finding someone who is able to help you get that divorce through. Because first you have to find someone who's able to find the people in Mexico. They find the person in Mexico, and a lot of them get discouraged before the end of that process. But those that don't, they're super happy. And so that's just, you'll find a lot of people, a lot of Hispanics like to live together rather than get married. And so that's a challenge that has to become overcome. But Hispanics are very religious people. They love the missionaries. They will, if you're out in the hot, they'll be the first ones to let you in and give you a bottle of water. A lot of them will say, "I believe that you are sent from God," and then they don't do what you say you should do. And so, but they will, they believe that you're sent from God. They may not believe in the church at first, but they believe you, and so they believe you and they respect you as priests and ministers. And so, a lot of them will be willing to listen to you. When it comes to finding them, trailer parks are always good. You'll find them in trailer parks. If you have an activity where there's food and you go put flyers on their doors, they will most likely be there. But and then connecting through families, because a lot of members, because a good majority of the Hispanics in the area in this generation are actually converts. A few years ago, Elder Ballard came in and started creating wards, and he started creating these wards, and the missionaries kind of had to keep up with it. And we have a lot of people who are converts who still have those connections to their friends and their family. And so going to a Hispanic family and be like, hey, where's what family members do you have that would be interested in hearing our message? They will be able to come up with a list of like 10,000, and they will you just have to help them set up something. To be like, hey, let's do this thing where we can meet them, and then we can get together and we can start teaching them. They are very, Hispanics are very willing, Hispanic converts are very willing to share this message because of how they've seen it change their lives. And so, that's something that, the Hispanic members especially are super willing to help, and they will also feed you a lot, which is something we're grateful for. But